We were once powerful, and then they appeared. But you will make us strong again. Thank you to our frontline patrons, Strawbones, Riddle4765, Midnight Gemlord, and Artgoon. Now, we're having this breakdown / discussion on how Percival, the Knight of Death, is really going to restore the reputation of humans in the 7 Deadly Sins world. Please don't forget to leave your own thoughts on Percival and the humans in the comment section down below. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, make sure to hit that little notification bell so you miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do a Patreon down below in support for as low as $1 a month. Get things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. You also now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Now, let's hop into the discussion. What's up, guys? Uncle the Pencil here, and yes, humanity. As far as I know, all my viewers are human, unless y'all want to tell me something. And with that being the case, we do commonly see humans in a lot of our stories. It's just like a natural thing. Humans make stories about other humans and or like anthropomorphize other things like the world, dogs, cats, like typically one way or another. Humans and humanity is a very important part of our cultural narratives because, you know, we make stories about ourselves since we believe we understand ourselves pretty well. So we make a whole bunch of stories about ourselves. And 7 Deadly Sins' story is no different. Nagaba, despite how he be writing sometimes, he is just a man. Sometimes he be writing fire. Sometimes he be writing water. Sometimes he be writing ice. But regardless, he still is a man. So of course, one of the major factions, the species of 7 Deadly Sins, of the 5 major clans, is the human clan. And the thing about the human clan is that they kind of, alright, admittedly, they're still not as bad as the giants, like, and which feels bad to say, but they aren't as bad as the giants, but the humans, as a whole, have one of the steepest, hardest, heaviest, whatever adjectives you want to use, drop-offs in all of 7 Deadly Sins. All of Season 1, about a solid, really, like, 120 chapters of the series, was humans. By humans, of humans, for humans, do humans. Like, legitimately, that's what it was all for. That's what it was all about, baby. And that's what we were waiting for. And then, what happened was, I guess Nakaba, just on a, you know what? We did humans already. What can we do now? I write demons. And then suddenly, like, humans became unbelievably irrelevant. Like, super relevant. Like, even the 2 humans that did stay relevant were, like, human at base. But then were made extremely powerful by the things that were not human. Like, Escanor, real cool dude, real strong character, real human, the pinnacle of all the races. Why does he stand there, though? Because of a power he got from another clan, which was the Goddess clan, which was the supreme deity. He was born with sun, which he called sunshine. That is not his own innate power, and thusly, he cannot be credited for his extreme feats of strength. Except for maybe the one ultimate, because he was abusing sunshine then, and was kind of just making his body do things that it wasn't supposed to be doing. Bon, even before his immortality, I will give him credit, he was a relatively strong dude. But I ask you this, what is Bon's title? Like, what do people call Bon? Is it Bon the human? Nah, that's more Finn's thing. Is it Bon the man? No, not really. Oh, I remember. It's Bon the Undead. And, you see, the funny thing about, Bon the Undead is that he needed some sort of external thing to be the undead. Oh, I wonder what it was. Fairy Clan magic juice. The Fountain of Youth, bada bing, bada boom, Bon became immortal. And that was a main defining point of him, to the point where it's his main title up until right at the end of the series, where he sacrifices it. And even then, he doesn't use his magic for anything other than one clutch save. So, like, it really was. He was really characterized by his power that wasn't from his own internal source. It was from an external source that was not even human. And then the rest of the cast really falls under the same boat when you think about it. Guild Thunder was strong in Season 1. Hauser was strong in Season 1. Griamore was Griamore. I'm not sure if I can call him strong, but he was something in season 1. Heck, even Dreyfus was strong in season 1, but then after that, we realized a huge chunk of his power wasn't even his. It was Danny Frondrin, who was a demon, an external power source. What was Hendrickson, our main villain of season 1? He was human, right? Yeah, but what were his abilities, and where did they come from? Yeah, they were demonic abilities from the demon clan. The humans were never powerful on their own. They're always powerful somehow externally. And even the ones that are strong on their own aren't really that strong. Like, it's literally a whole point in the Arthur versus the possessed Camelot fight that, yeah, there were humans strong enough to fight demons, but, like, they were fighting red demons, gray demons. On a good day, maybe something a little bit higher. But you, a human, wielding the power of hundreds of thousands of your kings in that blade, young man, are nothing to the highest level. And that's something that the narrative just promotes. Like, legitimately, no human is that powerful without external means. And that kind of leaves humanity in a really rough spot, writing-wise. Mainly because you cannot, and this is admittedly that you can be. Let me not speak in definitives, but I would say 9.9999999964872 times out of 10, you are going to be irrelevant in a battle manga if you cannot battle. And while you can call Seven Deadly Sins a bunch of things, one of the primary things I'd say the story is a battle manga. And thusly, with a whole bunch of characters, a whole species of characters becoming fundamentally irrelevant power-wise after season 1, what happened to humanity? Gone. Just gone. Like, straight set off. As in removed. They were straight removed from the narrative. They made sparse appearances here and there. And they fought off the demon clan left and right. But what was humanity for a majority of the Seven Deadly Sins narrative? To the point where Arthur believes it verbatim by the time of Four Nights. Long story short, they were victims. They were victimized by pretty much it was mainly the demon clan, I won't lie. And the goddess clan, don't get me wrong. The goddess clan, the archangels were in fact some meanie stupid heads with what they were doing. But regardless, humanity was put not on the back foot, like on its back heels, on its back knees. Like, legitimately, they were used, abused, and broken because they simply weren't strong enough. Power is something that you need in life in general. Technically, you want to have some sort of power, whether that be fiscally, monetarily, physically. Like, there are different reasons you want power in our real world, but especially in a narrative where a majority of your story is based around fisticuffs. You're gonna want to have that nice raw power. Yet, due to how humanity was written in the original Seven Deadly Sins, they just weren't allowed to have it. Even the mightiest of humans, from Gilthunder to Zaratros, to Dreyfus to Hendrickson, were nothing in the face of the monsters of the other clan. Whether they be giants, fairy kings, demons, or goddesses, they all fell flat. And with that being the case, it really makes you wonder, well, what's left? Now that we've done this, now that we've proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that every human is kind of just fundamentally worthless, without any external abilities, then is the whole clan just done? Is it pointless in the end to try and endeavor to be better or endeavor to improve as a human? For you never can unless you get external help. Look at Arthur, our main antagonist. The by humans, for humans, of humans is barely even human. He's achieving his goals in a similar way to Bon and Escanor did, with a power that's not his, that was foisted upon him by another human. And that power they wield isn't even from humanity, rather its creator. So if our main antagonist, our main characters, our former main antagonists, our former side characters, all the stuff like that, if they're so unbelievably weak in the face of these monstrous beings, these demons, these goddesses, these giants, these fairies, these monsters, these creatures, then what's the point? Why should we even care? Why should we even bother? We know they'll never be important because they can never fight back. And if they're never going to be able to fight back, they'll never show up. And if they never show up, there's no point in it at all. We might as well just remove the entire clan. But then, Nakaba. Now, like I said, the man can write fire, he can write water, and he can write ice. But, in this case, he decided to light his blade aflame. As many have said before me, the pen is mightier than the sword. And in this case, Nakaba has decided to use his mighty pen to pencil in a character of humanity that could save them all. At least, in terms of the ways that matter in a story such as 4 Knights of the Apocalypse. And you know who that character is. His name is Percival, the little happy-go-lucky guy from the peak of the world, fallen down to cause destruction to Camelot. And here's the thing about Percy, right? Right now, he actually is low-key kind of following in the path of his ancestors in terms of being the weakest out of his current group. Admittedly, I thought he was stronger than Gawain, just off like him being able to physically damage Melagallon, but he says himself he's weaker. And who is the rest of the group? Yes, they're all indeed part human, but Gawain has Sunshine, an external ability from another clan. Lancelot is literally half fairy, and Tristan has 2 other clans in him, and they also happen to be the Demon Clan and the Goddess Clan. So can I really blame Percy for being the weakest right now? No. However, what I can be thankful for is that as far as we know, for now, even though I have my own ideas on what Percy really is, because I feel like he may not be human, under the assumption that he purely is human, that all the foreshadowing that he isn't is much more misdirection and more so red herrings by Nakaba as he's done before, then Percy is really showing us that humanity does have infinite potential. Humanity is unbreakable. Humanity, with enough hope, enough determination, and enough power, they can do anything. And I think this works specifically well with the themes and story of 4 Knights of the Apocalypse so far. If you take a look at the story of 7 Deadly Sins, it is, yes, a story somewhat about humanity, but really that's mainly for the first part, and the rest of it has to do with goddesses, demons, fairies, giants, pretty much every other race than humanity. Heck, even the humans within our group of the 7 Deadly Sins are actually rarely focused on human matters or human affairs, really. Look at Bond, he was mainly concerned about Elaine, a fairy. Look at Escanor, he was mainly concerned about Merlin and his friends, which were either A, human, or B, non-human. And even then, the human affairs barely count, because Bond barely counts as a human, and so does Merlin. And Merlin cared about Chaos, another non-human entity. Meanwhile, Meliodas, King, Diane, Gother, all of them were pretty nonplussed about the whole human situation. They were kind of trying to solve their own problems. And with that being the case, that's where 4 Knights comes in as a direct contrast. At least for right now. Who knows? Maybe the story will jump and leap into 15 different directions that have nothing to do with humanity all over again. But look at our main cast of titular characters. They're all either human and or part human. Look at our main antagonist right now. His main goal is to make a world for humans. Who have we been fighting for the most part in 4 Knights of the Apocalypse? Outside of them 2 demons that we just recently ran into, we've been fighting humans. The whole story has sort of revolved and centered itself around humanity once again, in a very similar vein to the first season of 7 Deadly Sins. However, now this goes as far as our own main character being human, having human conflicts, having human desires, having everything human. And I think that is why Percy works so well on just a sheer narrative fitting level, because before you sort of had it hard for people to connect with humans in 7 Deadly Sins, because most of our characters barely counted as human if they were human at all. Meanwhile now, with our main protagonist literally being just a kind human boy, we're getting to see everything from a kind human boy's perspective. We're exploring the world from his perspective. We are seeing the world as a human would see the world. Sure, admittedly, a human with crazy hope, despair, superpowers, but still a human. And I think that dichotomy shift is what really allows the whole story to really recenter around humanity. while at the same time not exactly disregarding the other species. Percy being the only quote-unquote pure human in our group, because Gawain, once again, external magic that's goddess-based, Lancelot, half-fairy, Tristan, goddess, fairy, not fairy, goddess, demon, human hybrid, with Percival being our pure human rep. With that being the case, we get to see almost an antithesis, if not a flat-out antithesis to Arthur, because Percy not only has allies that are not entirely human that he cares for and he wants to protect, he also has human allies that are purely human that he cares for and wants to protect, but at the same time he respects and loves and wants to learn more about the other cultures. You see this as soon as he naturally picks up the demon language from Dolcemonte and even enjoys the presence of Dolcemonte and all the demon family. All of that is natural to Percy. So we have this beautiful point where our main character stands in direct opposition to our main antagonist, a person who wants to integrate themselves into the world of these other species, a human who wants to learn more, who wants to get a better understanding, who wants to be with everyone, versus a human who, while admittedly wielding an external power, wants to separate, wants to isolate, wants to remove every other species from the playing field to make a world solely of humans. This dichotomy we have between our main antagonist and our main hero is great, and the best thing about it is that, you know, except for Arthur being possessed by chaos, he is mostly human. So we have these two humans standing on the opposite side of each other, narratively, making them the perfect hero and antagonist. And that's something you just don't get in original Seven Deadly Sins. Heck, for the longest time, Meliodas didn't necessarily have a dichotomy like that. He didn't have an antagonist that really stood in direct opposition to him, other than maybe the Demon King. And even then, the Demon King doesn't get introduced properly until like halfway through the series. Meanwhile, we get introduced to Arthur and his ideology as soon as 23 chapters into the narrative. So we're having this long-lasting dichotomy between Arthur and Percival, two humans who want the exact opposite things, yet are striving for something that they both desire, which is revenge. And I think that's really, really good. It allows humanity to once again be put on the forefront and be interesting on a character level in terms of the two character dichotomy between our main antagonist and our main hero, and also just on a conflict level. It's good to have your main hero and main protagonist in direct opposition to each other, not just on a physical front, but also on a moral front and an ideological front. Because then when that comes to blows, when these two antagonists, or, well, antagonists to each other finally meet, you get this beautiful dichotomy where it's not just a physical clash, not just an ideological clash, but a morality clash. And that's 10 times as interesting, to a point where I'd say it kind of blows any other villain-hero dynamic out of the water from Seven Deadly Sins, except for, once again, maybe Meliodas and the Demon King. But the Demon King, I don't know, he's kind of just mean. I'll talk about him in his own video, but in terms of a real antagonist, he's kind of, he's nothing compared to Arthur. Let's just say that. In his dynamic with Meliodas, despite literally being father and son, is nothing compared to these two strangers in the Percival and Arthur dynamic. And that's the thing. Not only do we get a refocusing on humanity in the direct character and moral dynamic, something that we only got really partially in season 1, towards the very end of it when Hauser and Gila went against the rest of the Kingdom of Leonis, but on top of that, we're getting humans being powerful again. Now, admittedly, not too powerful, not overly strong, not gains to the insane strong. You still have pretty much every other hybrid and or externally powered human being stronger than Percy at this point in time in the narrative. However, Percy is still insane. He still has magical abilities that surpass pretty much everything we've seen if you're just looking at it on a what has more, what is the quality of, all of that. Right now, 90 chapters in, after literally traveling for maybe at most 2 weeks, Percival has exploded with insane potential, insane magic, and a whole other side to himself that we haven't even been able to explore properly, and so many mysteries wrapped up in the character in terms of just their raw power. And with that raw power being put on the forefront again, it makes humanity able to be respected again. Obviously, Percival is the main character, and if shonen has taught me anything, your main character is going to either be one of the strongest by the end or at least top 3. So Percival is set on a path to be mighty, and not only that, he's a human set on the path to be mighty, which makes the humanity of Seven Deadly Sins, makes the human clan finally seem respectable, finally seem they have a genuine stake in the game, a genuine fish in the barrel, if you will. Because for the longest time, like, after season 1, no one was convinced that a human was going to be the mightiest, especially not a pure human. Maybe you had people arguing for Escanor, but once again, once it was revealed that Escanor's power was external, then he barely counted. And Bond, once again, the basis of his massive power-up, the most massive power-up we've seen in the series pretty much, was based on not just an external ability from another clan, but also an entirely different realm. And of course, we had Meliodas, a demon, Elizabeth, a half-goddess, so on and so forth. Meaning that humanity was kind of stuck out of luck. Like, who's the next strongest human after the cheating Merlin, after the externally powered Escanor, and the externally powered Bon? Can't figure it out? I don't blame you. It may have been Dreyfus. But regardless of that, it shows you how much of a gap there was. No one's ever debating that. Like, you don't necessarily hear any human outside of the Sins that barely count as human and being like top 10, top 15, heck, even really top 20 character discussion. That list is dominated by demons, goddesses, fairies, giants. Let me not lie about the Giants part. I'm kidding. But regardless, that's the difference. Now, with Percival, our main character, being this powerful already, 90 chapters in, after notably not really fighting, just doing light training with his grandfather for the entirety of his life in an unhealthy environment. Don't raise your kids on mountains, folks, unless you have no other choice. So, be Varghese if you need to. Just don't try to be Varghese, because it'll jack your kid up. And he's already this mighty. So by the end of series, heck, by the middle of the series, you know Percival is definitely going to get stabbed a couple more times. You know that boy's going to die. he going to die a little bit more. And then he's going to come back even stronger. Consistent Phoenix-like rebirth that'll make him stronger and stronger and stronger. And finally, humanity will have skin in the game. It will finally have a representative that can step forward and be like, hey, you put respect on my name. And then we have humanity getting respect on its name. This new level of power, this new dynamic where we can finally have a human, or as far as we know, a human, step forth and be as mighty as the gods. Be as mighty as the beings infused with other powers. Be mightier than them. That is exciting. That is relevant. That is great. And it brings back something that the humans have not had in literally over 300 chapters. Maybe more. And I think that's great, especially for a world like Seven Deadly Sins, where a big part of the narrative is that we must all be in this together. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to sing that. But regardless, the idea of unity is something that's very present in Seven Deadly Sins. Despite what the end of the narrative tries to say, and or the whole start of this narrative and Arthur's trying to say, like, the whole Seven Deadly Sins is literally a whole bunch of people coming together from different species and commingling and understanding and respecting each other. Leonis is currently that. It is entirely possible that understanding can be reached, and that understanding can be shown and undertaken by humanity. And I think that's a great thing that Percival brings to the narrative that really brings a respect back to them. And finally, the last thing that Percival really brings that makes humanity interesting, that brings them to the forefront, that makes them a point of discussion now after so long, is the mystery. Now, notably, humans were a bit less mysterious in the original series of Seven Deadly Sins. Like, even in the first arc, they weren't necessarily mysterious, they were just confusing, because they didn't operate in the ways you expected them to operate, because obviously the magic system and their motivations and stuff like that. But Percy is a character shrouded in mystery. Percy is a character who we simultaneously know a lot about, yet know nothing about. And I think that mystery, that dichotomy, in a very similar vein to Meliodas of Season 1, and heck, Meliodas for a long time, like, you could argue all the way up to Season 3, we don't get the full story behind Meliodas. I think that's great. I think it's great to have your readers constantly wondering, constantly second-guessing, constantly asking, wait, is this really a human? Is this Percival? Like, Percival, are you like the red herrings, the misdirections, the leads, the false leads, the literal slaughtering of him in his resurrections, all of that juicy mystery is something that realistically you could argue has never been there, but is now there in spades. And with that being the case, it just makes me ever more excited. I'm getting to see a human rep carry pretty much everything that every other species carried, and sometimes doing it even better. So that's why I think Percival has brought back respect to the human clan. And I'm super excited to see his continual development throughout the rest of the series, because he started relatively high, but he definitely has a long way to go. However, That's what I think. Please let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Thank you guys for watching. Remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Make sure that little notification bell so you miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do a Patreon down below and support Percival as $1 a month. Get exclusive videos, early content, and more. You can also now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Now, thank you guys so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That Guy with the Pencil, writing off.